Welcome back to the Budget Gamer channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at a really incredible Metroid-inspired platformer called Necrosphere. And I am calling this a Metroid-inspired and not a Metroid-vania because it doesn't actually have a leveling or interchangeable item system, which is actually the Vania portion of the Metroid-vania. But before we get too deep into the weeds with gaming theory, let's go ahead and move into the story. The story in Metrosphere is expectedly like a platformer in that it is really light. It's less of a story and more of just kind of a governing scenario of how you found yourself in the position wherein you start playing the game. Accordingly, in Necrosphere, we find out that our main character was maybe a special agent or something, and after getting ambushed, several of his teammates took heavy fire and some injuries, but he definitely got the worst of it all. As such, our main character's last memory is being rushed to the ER, and now he finds himself deep in the underbowels of the Necrosphere. And as we play through the game, we start to realize that the Necrosphere is basically the world of the non-living, necro meaning dead, and sphere being vaguely reminiscent of world or celestial body. However, despite this being a completely solo player platformer, our secret agent isn't exactly alone. Notes and messages have been able to be interjected somehow into this Necrosphere world, which, being written by people who are trying to help you find your way out, detail some notes of what's going on back in the world of the living and give you just a bit of a clarification on what it is exactly that is the situation that you're now in. However, playing through Necrosphere for only a few seconds, you're going to realize that resurrecting yourself back to the world of living is not the tallest order in the game. The gameplay for this Metroid-inspired platformer is complete two-button control. And while you might think initially that that's going to be the button for running in a forward progression and possibly jumping, you probably couldn't be any more frustratingly far from the truth. Using only the left directional button and the A button on your Joy-Cons or any sort of Pro Controller, you'll start out the game only being able to move your main character left or right. There is no jumping ability in this platformer, and it's a good long while before you even get your first Metroid-style power-up. And even though you may initially be raging at the game developer for making the controls so bafflingly simple, I'd have to say that there is absolutely nothing more frustrating about this game or more fulfilling when actually able to get past some sort of instant death machine. Only being able to move your character right or left is incredibly limiting, and it's definitely an experience that most games don't give a player. So until you do find that first power-up, which is a pink leotard that allows you to plie over some pits, you will be forced to get a fundamentally perfected control of the game's mechanics. However, the further you do make it through this mini Metroid platformer, the more power-ups you'll be able to gain, and the more previously player-restricted areas you'll be able to gain access to. As for the in-game story that you discover as you play, there are 4 portals in the game, 3 of which teleport you back to the beginning of the labyrinth. And this means that your main overall objective is finding that 4th portal. So as you play through each of the paths that you can navigate with whichever abilities you've managed to collect, there will be a portal at the bottom of the dungeon that teleports you back to the initial stage. And this can allow you to play through previous paths to try and find hidden areas or hidden items, or to jump over pits and break down walls that were previously blocking your way. However, as simple as all of this sounds, and considering that you probably can beat the game in about 2.5 to 3 hours, the learning curve is incredibly steep. Yes, you will be picking up power-ups that fundamentally change the way the game is played, but you still only have 2 buttons. And gaining a new power-up doesn't actually make the game easier, but it allows you to face new challenges that you weren't able to conquer before. And in short, means the developer can screw with your head a little more in each level. However, this isn't your typical platformer, and it is the exact opposite of what you could expect of a roguelike, because respawns are instant, and by instant I mean literally within less than half a second, and they're generally within a step or 2 of the place that you managed to die. And this means that every single event or every single death at a difficult spot isn't a game-ending start-over type scenario, it's a literal instant learning trial that you can participate in over and over and over until you manage to get it right. And in all honesty, with the difficulty of some of these things, I can't believe how quickly I was able to progress and improve, and then when confronting that same area that killed me maybe 1,000 times in a row before, I was able to beat it on my first pass. And as far as the layout of the levels and the layout of the traps and things that are actually designed to kill you and throw you off your game, as many as there are and as many as the times that I died repeatedly over and over and over just trying to make it a few inches further across the screen, I could easily say that nothing felt like a cheap kill. And with the different color codings of each of the dungeons where you find each of your different power-ups, I'd have to say that even though there is an obvious linear progression, nothing felt scripted and everything felt really well planned and unique. And even though this is yet again another classic style pixelated platformer, the gameplay and the scenario mixed with the chippy music just made the whole thing feel light and fresh and kind of like a new experience. And in all honesty, I can safely say that I've never found a game that's made me rage as hard or be as elated with joy as Necrosphere has managed to do with its incredibly, insanely vapid simplicity and incredibly daunting learning curve. However, that being said, the instant respawn mechanic means that literally any player, even if they're total klutzes at platformers, could probably really enjoy this game. Yes, you may die a few hundred more times than someone who's really gifted at platforming, and it may may turn from a 2.5-hour game to like a 6-hour game, but for the experience and for the price, it might be totally worth it. But anyway, that does about wrap up the review of Necrosphere, now finally making its way to the Nintendo Switch. So if you enjoyed the review or found it helpful, feel free to throw me a comment or a like to show your support, and don't forget to click that little bell icon when you subscribe to stay updated with the latest content. There are new and unique indies coming out literally every day, so there's always going to be something new to find right here. But since I can only make a couple of reviews a week, if you want a hint at what the next review might be, you can follow us on Twitter. But otherwise, this has been Budget Gamer, so as always, thanks for watching.